From the Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Zahra Syed. Our top story tonight. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has sacked Home Secretary Suella Braverman, who drew anger for accusing the police of being too lenient with pro-Palestinian protesters. Braverman faced criticism after describing pro-Palestine protesters as hate marchers and accusing the police of double standards. London witnessed massive weekend demonstrations over the past month, with tens of thousands of people taking to the streets to denounce Israel's relentless bombing of Gaza. Protesters demanded the UK government call for a ceasefire. Meanwhile, David Cameron has returned to government as UK's Foreign Secretary. United Nations staff honored colleagues on Monday morning who made the ultimate sacrifice. The UN flag flew at half-mast at the organization's offices worldwide in memory of the 101 staff members of the United Nations Agency for Palestine Refugees, or the UNRWA, killed in Gaza since October 7th. The fallen colleagues provided life-saving aid to Gaza's 2.2 million people amid constant bombardment and a complete siege of the enclave. They included school principals, teachers, doctors, engineers, guards, and support staff. Many were killed, along with their family members. The AFP reports that the UNRWA has warned its operations in conflict-ridden Gaza would shut down within 2 days due to fuel shortages as fighting rages between Israel and Hamas. The Anti-Defamation League has categorized Jewish groups advocating for a ceasefire in Israel as anti-Semitic, according to a report by The Intercept. The ADL has included peaceful protests organized by groups such as the Jewish Voice for Peace and If Not Now in its database, tracking rising anti-Semitism in the United States. On October 27th, thousands of Jews and their supporters staged a sit-in at New York City's Grand Central Station calling for a Gaza ceasefire. Wearing Not in Our Name t-shirts, demonstrators effectively shut down the terminal during rush hour, resulting in around 400 arrests, including those of rabbis. Jewish anti-war activists continue to demand an end to violence and genocide in Gaza. Meanwhile, the ADL's classification has drawn criticism. Eva Bourdward, national spokesperson for If Not Now, expressed concern that applying the anti-Semitism label to those advocating for Palestinian rights, including Jews, was irresponsible and dangerous. This categorization comes on the heels of a history of criticism against ADL. More than 100 progressive organizations have urged progressives not to partner with ADL due to its alleged alignment with right-wing leaders and patterns of attacking social justice movements led by marginalized communities. ADL's new focus on progressive Jewish activists adds to ongoing debates surrounding its stance on various advocacy groups. Most recently, on October 16th, more than 1,000 Jews and their allies blockaded White House entrances, demanding President Joe Biden's support for a ceasefire. Jewish anti-war activism calling for peace in the region remains a prominent and growing movement amongst progressive Jewish communities. In Maryland, a group of Democratic state senators representing Montgomery County is considering stripping state funding for CASA, an immigrant rights group. The move comes after CASA called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and criticized the use of U.S. tax dollars to support ongoing violence. The senators accused CASA of making hurtful, divisive, and anti-Semitic remarks. CASA, a Maryland-based advocacy group serving immigrant communities, receives millions of dollars in state and local government funding. Democratic lawmakers with influential positions in the state legislature suggested re-evaluating financial support to ensure public funds are not promoting anti-Semitism. It aligns with the broader trend of officials cracking down on individuals and organizations supportive of Palestinians and critical of Israel's actions. Some senators have condemned student organizations protesting on college campuses, while others called for deportation of foreign nationals perceived as supporting Hamas. In Virginia, an investigation has been launched into a pro-Palestinian nonprofit. Advocates for peace and Palestinian rights argue such efforts to target and silence those calling for a ceasefire and an end to the occupation are counterproductive. They emphasize the importance of supporting organizations like CASA in their work on behalf of immigrant communities. Gaza's two largest hospitals, Al-Shifa and Al-Quds, have been forced to shut down due to a lack of fuel, according to the Palestinian Red Crescent Society. Doctors warn the 15,000 people inside Al-Shifa Hospital are facing a slow death Israeli snipers have reportedly been targeting individuals on the hospital grounds, resulting in the deaths of 3 nurses. It has also extensively damaged critical infrastructure, including the oxygen station, water tanks, and maternity ward. World Health Organization's Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus described the situation as dire. He emphasized the hospital had been without electricity or water for 3 days. Gamal Adwan Hospital in northern Gaza, which also shelters 5,000 displaced people, had to cease operations due to lack of fuel for its main generator. Hospitals and medical personnel are protected under international humanitarian law, but reports suggest Israel has targeted these facilities with impunity. The Israeli military claims to have delivered fuel to Al-Shifa Hospital, which required around 10,000 liters of fuel daily. A United States billionaire real estate tycoon is spearheading a multi-million-dollar media campaign, Facts for Peace, aimed at improving Israel's image. More than 50 influential figures from media, finance, and technology, including former Google CEO Eric Schmidt and Dell CEO Michael Dell, are being solicited for million-dollar donations. Some, like investor Bill Ackman, have even threatened to blacklist pro-Palestine students in the last few weeks. Barry Sternlicht, the campaign's initiator, seeks to alter public opinion, fearing images of Palestinians suffering may weaken the global empathy for Israel. The campaign intends to label Hamas not only as Israel's enemy, but also an enemy of the United States. Their goal is to secure $50 million in private donations matched by a Jewish charity. The campaign already has amassed several $million, but it is unclear who has donated. Josh Vlasto, a former communications strategist for Senator Chuck Schumer, and former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo are advisors of the initiative. Despite the Gaza crisis, the United States continues to support Israel, recently passing a $14.3 billion military aid package. This is on top of the annual $3 billion in aid it already gives. This media effort reflects the ongoing global debate surrounding Israel's war on Palestine and the significant role of influential figures in shaping public perception. Palestinian TikToker beaten live by Israeli forces. Details come after the break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. A Palestinian TikToker was arrested while live streaming his daily life in Hebron, the heart of the occupied West Bank. The video captures the screams of Iyad Banat's children as Israeli troops turn their weapons towards them. The footage shows Israeli soldiers beating and repeatedly kicking Banat before taking him into custody. The incident was broadcasted in real time on TikTok, shedding light on the challenges of exercising freedom of expression in such a volatile environment. Banat is the brother of the late Palestinian activist Nizar Banat, who lost his life in 2021. Iyad Banat's live-streamed arrest and assault highlight the harsh realities endured by individuals living under occupation in Palestine. 5 United States Army Special Operations troops lost their lives in a helicopter refueling accident over the eastern Mediterranean Sea. This incident is being handled with sensitivity by U.S. officials as the Biden administration strives to prevent the Israel-Gaza conflict from spreading in the region. The crash occurred just off the southeastern coast of Cyprus. The incident came to light on Saturday when the United States European Command, responsible for overseeing military operations in the area, made the announcement. The Pentagon deployed additional forces to the region to show solidarity with Israel and send a clear message to Iran and others to avoid escalating tensions. This show of strength includes the deployment of 2 aircraft carrier strike groups, each comprising about 7,500 troops. Muslim students at the University of Connecticut are reporting violent threats related to Israel's war on Palestine and calling for increased security measures. A former leader of a pro-Palestine campus group played a voicemail in which she was called a racial slur and labeled a terrorist. The university's Muslim Student Association also received an email mocking dead Palestinians. Both incidents have been reported to the campus and state police, as well as the FBI. UConn's spokesperson strongly condemned Islamophobia, emphasizing their stance against all forms of hatred, including anti-Semitism. The surge in incidents of hate and harassment targeting Muslim and Jewish groups in the United States has been notable since Israel's war on Palestine. calls for support and educational programs about the conflict and Islam have been made by Muslim student leaders and the Council on American Islamic Relations in Connecticut. Connecticut Governor Ned Lamont is organizing a meeting of university security officials to address hate crimes on college campuses statewide. A coalition of Democratic governors led by Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer is joining calls for more federal support to safeguard religious institutions facing threats due to Israel's war on Palestine. In a letter addressed to congressional leaders, governors from 10 states are urging additional funding for the nonprofit security grant program. The program will distribute $305 million this year to bolster security at religious and charitable organizations. Whitmer emphasized the need for funding expansion in response to growing threats against Jewish, Muslim, and Arab communities and their places of worship. The initiative aligns with the national democratic sentiments to counter potential hate crimes stemming from the Israel-Hamas conflict. President Joe Biden has proposed a $200 million increase for the grant program in a recent supplemental budget. Recent studies have shown a significant surge in hate crimes and discrimination against Muslims and a substantial increase in anti-Semitism since Israel's war on Gaza started. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is advocating for a substantial $1 billion enhancement to the grant program to combat hate crimes. States like New York are taking action by allocating $45 million to enhance safety equipment in non-public educational institutions, including Islamic and Jewish schools. Khadija John Price, a leader from the Islamic Cultural Center School in Manhattan, stressed the importance of these funds for protecting students, staff, and families. The Arab-Islamic summit held Saturday called on the International Criminal Court, or ICC, prosecutor to swiftly conclude the investigation into crimes against humanity committed by Israel. The joint summit, attended by leaders and representatives from the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, took place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It coincided with the 36th day of the Israeli bombardment in Gaza. The summit strongly condemned Israel's aggressions in Gaza, calling them war crimes and inhumane massacres against the Palestinian people. Leaders emphasized lasting and comprehensive peace must be achieved based on international terms of reference. They asserted Israel and other regional countries will not attain security and peace until Palestinians regain their rights. The summit called for an immediate halt to the export of weapons and ammunition to Israel and the cessation of Israeli settlement expansion. It also stressed the importance of the Arab Peace Initiative and criticized the double standards in applying international law. Leaders concluded by advocating for the convening of an international peace conference to initiate a credible peace process under international law. They also called for activation of the Islamic financial safety net to provide support to the Palestinian government and United Nations Refugee Agency. Human Rights Watch has been unable to confirm Israel's claims that Hamas is using Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza for military purposes. The New York-based human rights organization said on X it could not confirm the Israeli military's claims that Hamas has its headquarters under Al-Shifa Hospital. The Israeli military also claimed Hamas military officials are inside the hospital while defending its bombing. Almost all hospitals in Gaza have been hit by Israeli attacks and airstrikes in the last 24 hours, including Al-Shifa Hospital. The human rights group said hospitals enjoy special protection under the laws of war, which they only lose if they are used to commit acts harmful to the enemy and after due warning. Hamas, which has also ruled Gaza since 2007, has also vehemently denied Israeli allegations on several occasions. A doctor at Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City says the Israeli army opens fire on anyone who tries to escape from the hospital. Fadia Malhis, a gynecologist at the hospital, told Anadolu Agency the Israeli army has surrounded the hospital grounds and is almost at the door. She said they were shooting at anyone who tried to leave the hospital. If anyone moves between the units, they shoot at them. She said the hospital had been turned into a prison with no water, electricity, or food. There are more than 100 bodies in the courtyard. They opened fire on those who tried to bury the bodies. Malhis said there are 60 babies in the intensive care unit, 39 of them intubated. She said these babies will die one by one. Malhis has called for an immediate action to stop hostilities around the hospital. In an emotional appeal, she asked for help to save the hospital, the doctors, and the patients. That's all from our Toronto studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.